Good afternoon. I'm Mark Allen with Gaper.io, and I'm here today with Scott Gifis, the president and COO of Frameio. Good afternoon, Scott.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us today. How you doing today?
Great. Working from home, as are most of us.
Yeah, most of us are. Yes, we have been for about 6 weeks now, right?
Yeah.
So, can you share a brief background of yourself and your work experience?
Sure. So, as you said, I'm currently president and COO at Frameio. Frameio is a cloud-based operating system that powers the creative and production process for dynamic content, specifically video content creation. Prior to Frame, I was president at AdRoll, which is a division of Nextroll, which is an advertising and marketing technology company, for about 6.5 years. And then I've been in various roles across technology and professional services for the last 15, almost 20 years, and scaling teams and scaling operations around the world.
Wow, very impressive. So what has been your experience with remote employment, both as a remote employee and remote employer?
We're definitely living in an interesting time. I think remote is a pretty broad term. Prior to COVID, I think we were conflating distributed workforce and remote employment. I think, fundamentally they expect the same things. You sort of have a need for, I think at the heart of it all, you need really great communication. I think you need to have sort of a deep and shared understanding of what the goals are and goals, operating principles, decision-making process, right? These things need to be really explicit. And then I think last, and certainly not least, it requires a great deal of trust.
Yes.
On all sides and at all levels, right? Trust that I know that you're doing the work that's required of you, that you're managing it to the best of your ability within the constraints that we have established. You trusting me that I've got the right goals in mind, but also like the best of intentions with you and your career. Trust in the company, trust in the mission, et cetera, right? So trust in the deepest level. So I think those things are really important. When you talk about remote in today's environment, what you're really talking about is remote in a very isolated way, right? And often in far less than ideal conditions, because they're often blended conditions, right? Where people are working from home, their desk is also their kitchen counter, or their bedroom is their office. And so when you're home, I think ensuring that you have, again, that deep understanding of goals is really important. The understanding of interdependence and sort of the role, not only sort of your job to do, but the relationship of your job with everybody else's job is a really important thing. And by the way, these are fundamentally true of every company that's successful. Correct. But I think it becomes that much more important in a remote environment. And then again, trust becomes just really, really important, because you have to kind of let go of a lot of the traditional ways in which you think about working with one another. So I think it's the same things are true, but they become a bit more pronounced in today's environment for sure.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think it's true for all companies, but when you go distributor remote, either one, it forces the discipline, right? Because you can imagine someone sitting out there in another city and for 8 hours with nothing to do.
Right.
That's scary. Whereas, if you come into the office, you can see them. You go, hey, why don't you do this?
So, in a truly distributed environment, when you're dealing with global teams or teams in lots of different places and time zones, managing those things as well, when you probably don't have that much overlap in the day, is particularly interesting, particularly challenging.
It does. Yes, I've had remote staff 13 and a half time zones away. It does pose some challenges.
It's you figure
it out.
You have to learn how to manage asynchronously, right? Because the of syncing on things is very difficult and very unrealistic and frankly impractical in terms of like when you're going to get the best output of your teams.
Yeah. So and that's where the trust really comes in.
Yep.
So what do you think is the future of remote employment, and what do you think can be done differently to make it more effective?
I think, well, firstly, it's easy and fun to imagine how these types of events can really catalyze working differently and thinking differently about the way in which we work. But I do want to at least recognize like this is an incredibly hard time for a lot of people right now. And so it's people are out of work, people are scared. Some people are prisoners in their own homes right now in situations that aren't great. So it's a lot. And I think it's, before I dance around the ideas and the opportunities that we create, I just think it's important to sort of recognize that stuff and caveat all that, and deep appreciation for the people that don't have the luxury of working from home, and a lot of brave people on the front lines, from grocery workers to service to healthcare. But sorry not to go on a sobering tangent, but I think it's it's always one of those things I try to balance. But I think when you imagine what the future of work looks like, I struggle in a big way to imagine that we can go back to normalcy. I think the definition of normal is going to change fundamentally, and the longer this persists, the more likely that is to happen. And there's lots of good evidence of events over time. I mean, look, there's a lot of things that just go back to the way they were, right? We've had experiences through that, and in New York, as an example, post 9/11, there was a lot of great will and other things that happened, but there was a lot of things that didn't change, or people sort of reverted back to old ways of working. But I do think there's something fundamental that's changing here as you think about the way that work is gonna happen. So I think for people that are fortunate enough to be gainfully employed right now and to be experiencing work in a relatively safe environment and stable place, we're all developing a new set of tools, a new set of habits right now. And I think it's giving people an opportunity to kind of rethink their priorities and their preferences. And so, there's a couple of like really important implications that come out of that. First of all, like there's a personal component. I mean, it's been fun to be introduced and brought into the homes of so many people that I get to work with on a regular basis, and to meet their kids, who are often bouncing on their knee or something like that as we're navigating, or meet their significant others. And so this notion of like bringing your whole self to work right now, I think is unavoidable. And it's breaking down a lot of interesting barriers for people. I think, even myself, I've always struggled with how do I balance those two worlds. And now there's no balancing. They are the same, right? So I think that's important. And then also the flexibility or the luxury of being able to step away and be home. That has its own challenges too, right? How do you create boundaries, and how do you sort of like, separate the daily activities so that you're not constantly working and such. But so there's a whole personal piece that I think is really interesting. And then there's also, there's a lot of complex, so there's everyday tasks and activities and such, and things that are a bit more standard outputs, standard work. And I think how all that's going to get managed and measured is going to be largely the same. It's going to happen asynchronously, right? As we were just talking about, you're not going to be doing live working sessions. It doesn't matter if I'm doing it between 5 and 6, and you're doing it between 5 and 6 at night. You're doing it 8, 9 in the morning. It's kind of irrelevant. So kind of finding what works. I think what's going to be most interesting is how we get the like complex work done. Right. There's lots of interesting work streams in our business. And as we think about how that all gets managed in a collaborative way, I think that's going to be the most interesting stuff. Like, for example, I'm the type of person that loves getting in front of a whiteboard with some folks and just mapping stuff out. And as much as I've tried, I cannot find a good sort of whiteboard technology that allows us to like collaborate on the same whiteboarding screen. Maybe there'll be some innovation that comes out of that area. That'd be great. Yeah, but I think you have a lot of things that are being challenged. Like so as an example, I think you have work that's being done today or forced to be done today that was only ever done when you could both be sitting side by side in a room together. And that's no longer an option. Like Frameio as an example, I know we'll get into this, but we enable remote collaboration for highly complex work streams, video creation and that sort of whole workflow process. There's a lot of intricacy to it. There's a lot of specialization in various elements of the post-production process. And we've been playing this role for a long time, but there's certain areas or pockets of this post-production process that were originally at least thought of by many as like they have to happen in a brick and mortar environment. They have to happen when we're all together. That's no longer possible.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're starting to see greater adoption of these sort of cloud-based technologies, and it's enabling people to do more things together, to sort of like keep advancing work. And actually, people are starting to find that, oh wait, I can do more in these environments than I could do before, and I can unlock more possibilities and more options. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see how it goes. But project management, program management, those sorts of things, enabling collaboration for remote employees in both synchronous and asynchronous ways. I think it's just going to become foundational for companies. And I also don't think, there's going to be some percentage of the workforce, for sure. There's lots of people that just can't wait to get back into the office and beat each other. There's going to be a fair percentage of people, a high percentage, I think, of people who are going to say, you know what, actually, I don't want to be in the office every day. Maybe I go in periodically, but I don't think I want to be there
every day.
Mm-hmm. And the companies that are allowing and enabling that type of flexibility and finding ways to kind of balance all of this are going to win the war on talent going forward, for sure.
Yeah.
And frankly, they're going to get more accomplished. They're going to be able to access the best people. They're going to be able to get more project work done. They're going to be able to move things through the pipeline, the projects, programs, products, what have you, faster. So I think that's going to be a big shift. And like I said, personally, I live a ways outside of New York, and often stay in New York because it's a bit of a hike for me. The flexibility to be home a couple days a week and maybe coach one of my kids' teams or something like that. It's pretty special.
This is a different quality of life. I actually about 2 years ago I turned down a management job at a company in the city of San Francisco because they wouldn't let me work from home at all. Yeah. And it was like that was giving up 10 hours a week of my time.
Yeah.
And that's a lot.
The last job I was in with Adwell, which was a company that I absolutely loved, it was really hard for me to leave. But after 6.5 years of commuting back and forth to San Francisco, it became a lot.
Yeah, it does. And so you said you have kids. So my kids are grown up, but when they were growing up, I was home and I tried to work as close to home as I could.
Yeah.
And I did talk to the kids.
I always get envious of folks that, coach the teams or do these other things because it's just not been the life that we've been able to have. We have different life, but listen, you make your choices, but this sort of introduces an opportunity to do things a little bit differently.
Yeah. Hopefully we embrace it as a society.
Yeah, I think so. And again, we're finding ways to make it work. And it also just changes how you can think about accessing different talent for different things, which again is, you read a lot about companies like Upwork and this gig economy and all kinds of other things. There's different ways of working. And I think this will be an interesting accelerant. Yeah, it is.
So what's the story behind Frameio? What do you got? What's the journey been like? I know it's fairly new for you, but tell me.
It is definitely new. So, I mean, so as I mentioned, Frameio, we're founded by creators, by artists who were heavily involved in the post-production process for video specifically across a whole bunch of different groups. And there's a lot of challenges and broken legacy processes and programs inside of that industry that weren't taking advantage of the technology that exists today to enable this sort of collaboration and sort of efficiency. And so the platform, which originally started out as a tool and grew into more of an operating system, a backbone for the creative process, was founded out of need, and specifically to serve Emery and John, our founding team. Over time they realized, oh wait, this is a really big business, and so Emery sold his production house and fully invested into this business. We just celebrated our 5th year. We have nearly 1 million customers, 1 million users on the platform. People don't realize the sheer scale, but we have, more than 100,000 of those customers are active paying customers. We've got a freemium model as well. And, look, ultimately we serve artists. We're here to help sort of enable the work streams. We work with hundreds of different tools and applications that we integrate with, including 5 of the 5 most important tools in the post-production process. And we enable people throughout the entire process to participate in bringing these visions to life, which is a really cool thing to say. And at the end of it all, you're able to, a lot of the things that I just described, I mean, you're able to work with the best people on the projects that you need. You're able to do that no matter where they live, work, and play. And you're able to do it with far tighter alignment, stronger creative control, and frankly, a lot more efficiency in both the quality and the pace at which you're able to produce work. And so the blocking gating factor for a lot of folks in having adopted in this way is, again, that legacy sort of operating system, kind of what worked before, and continue to hang on to some of those processes. And what we're seeing now is an interesting sort of catalyst in the adoption or movement from, just from digital into the cloud environment. And, we've, as I say, we've been fortunate that this has been kind of a driving force for a lot of our customers, and we feel lucky to be able to help them through this.
What would be a typical customer? Would it be like someone making a music video, or would it be a corporation that does training, or just give me an example?
It's everyone from, in the media and entertainment world, it's film producers and major studios to broadcasting, CBS's and Viacom's of the world, to publishing, right? New York Times and those types of players that are. So anyway, anybody that has a story to tell, that wants to communicate a message via a compelling medium like video or any other dynamic content is a customer of Frame. But also all of the freelancers and small production houses and others that work and support those businesses on a day-to-day project. And then on the other side, another major category would be what I would call marketing communications. So that's if you're a big brand, you produce a lot of content. Again, you're likely a customer of Frameio. If you're a creative agency and you're looking to, again, centralize and streamline a lot of the processes, you're a Frameio customer. The platform itself is incredibly flexible, and so it can adapt to a lot of interesting workflows, and that allows customers to use it in the ways that make sense for them. And so it's got a pretty broad, application. We have an NPS score in the 70s, so it's a beloved product from our end customers, and we're really happy for that. We have a pretty engaged community as well, so it's a fun customer to serve. They do interesting work, and we feel good about helping them, solve interesting problems.
Yeah, interesting. So how did Frame incorporate the idea of remote in the company with 150 employees? I'm assuming they're in different areas, right?
We have employees in different places, and distributed teams and remote teams is something that I've been a proponent of for a long time. It's got its challenges, to be sure, especially when you're actually the smaller you are. I think it's actually harder at times to make it really work, because you're not selling a commodity. You're selling a rapidly evolving technology into a rapidly evolving industry. And so the sort of close collaboration, the ideation, all of those things that how do you facilitate that in a way that's really conducive? And so, but so we've allowed for remote work, and we have an office in LA and New York, so there's still some distribution there, and then we have other folks that are work in different places remotely as well. And again, it comes down to a lot of the things I called out of the get. The communication piece is really critical. So we have kind of a town hall every 2 weeks, and we talk about we provide department updates and shout outs and all the things you expect, but also here's how the business is doing. These are the priorities. These are our key initiatives and how they're advancing. Constantly bringing people back to our values, our operating principles, the things that matter to us as a business, so you can continue to force that alignment. the making sure that we've got really well-defined goals, that people understand the plan, who's working on what. Those are really important things to make sure are crystal clear. And then again, just making sure that you've got that level of trust, not only our trust in the teams, but also the team's trust in, and the individual's trust in the company to do the right thing. So we did, for example, when we moved the whole company remote, as many did.
Mm-hmm.
After about a week and a half, we heard from various folks that they were really struggling. A lot of our employees had to stock up on groceries and lay out a lot of cash for different things, and then they also had realized their home working environment wasn't ideal. Right, it hadn't been set up for day-to-day use. So we gave them a stipend. We said, listen, if you need money, we gave a little bit of a stipend to take care of them, make them feel good. And we offered people that didn't need the money the opportunity to do a donation, which we did a match for. 75% of the company did the match, right? They said, actually, we don't need it and we want to give back. So we, charities, and we felt, and the company felt really good about that. But at the same time, about 25% of the company needed it, right? And so they took it, and we applaud that as well, because we want to make sure that people feel like they're in a position to be successful. So it's not just that you trust, hey, we're going to do the right thing, but that you actually demonstrate that you're going to do what you can to take care of them. So I think those things are all pretty important. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you had a unique way to handle some of the challenges that COVID created. Were there any other challenges you didn't expect?
We have, as we're a software company, product-led growth business, and so our product and the sort of rapid iteration of development is really crucial, and facilitating customer feedback and roadmap development and figuring out how to build all these systems. I mean, it's not a small feat, particularly in engineering and design, and we're a very design-centric company. So, this is a company that have war rooms around key launches and such, where we bring everybody together to work through these things and ideate and such. So finding ways to create virtual environments for those things to happen with all the design boards and everything else that you'd expect. Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's still a work in process. We're still iterating on how to do it. And again, it goes back to that trust piece, right? Because you're going to be in these conversations where a lot of times they can get heated. They can be passionate. We got a lot of passionate people, and it's a good thing.
That's what you want.
Absolutely. And you want some of that healthy, friction and constructive debate and such, but you need to make sure you have that level of trust as you're having those conversations, because a lot gets lost in an email, but still a lot gets lost in even a video conference call, right? And so ensuring that you have just constant reinforcement of those things. And then, listen, I mean, this is, as I was mentioning, we are fortunate for sure at Frameio, but people are still dealing with this. This is taking its toll on people mentally, emotionally, et cetera. So again, it's just consistently reinforcing. And our people team have done an amazing job of building programs, and we onboarded unique training around remote work and how to do that well and how to find life balance in these environments. And so we're really trying to lean in and make sure that people can navigate that. And then, the other stuff is like a big part, as many companies, a big part of our go-to-market is, major events where people can come and touch and feel the product and talk through different things. And so we've had to, create a completely new way of working with our customers. And we are one of these unique companies that are fortunate to have a solution that actually helps our customers solve their problems right now. But how do you walk that line, right? Because you don't want to reach out. Great news. I know you're having a terrible time right now, but we can help, right? I mean, it's just, you have to be very thoughtful about how you do that. So, we decided to give away our product for free for 90 days because people weren't expecting it. So we did that. We gave it away for free to a lot of impacted institutions like healthcare and education that needed to get messages out, communicate things, but again, nonprofits didn't have any line item or budget for these things, but now need to figure out a new way of managing it. So we're trying to trying to walk that line, do the right thing, and still grow the business. But Yeah, no, it's been an interesting time for sure. I wouldn't say we've got it all right, but lots of good lessons learned.
Well, it sounds like you got a lot of it right, not all of it. No one's got it all right.
Yeah, no, it's
And if
got it
they
all.
say they do, they're kidding themselves.
Yeah, I think so. But
And I commend you for the giving it free to the front lines. That is commendable.
yeah, it felt like the right thing to do.
Yeah, I agree. So there's a lot of companies like Gaper that help develop, build, and scale products, especially for startups. You're probably past the startup stage now. How important do you think this is going to be going forward for companies like yourself that need to hire quality people and in a hurry?
Well, I mean, it's a very interesting time. As I said, we are fortunate. We raised a lot of cash, pre-COVID. We have a solution that enables remote collaboration. It doesn't seem to be going away. We've got a lot of good ingredients, to be an attractive place for people to want to come and work. We're a technology first company, and. So we have a great story. Yet this environment, it's actually really hard to hire, even if you're hiring. Yeah, there's a lot of people out of work and people are looking and certainly we're excited to be able to talk to folks and give people opportunities for roles. But, there's still a lot of niche roles that need to be filled and the people that have those jobs are gainfully employed.
Yeah.
And we might be a better story, a better place for them to come and work. But in this environment, people are nervous to make a jump, either because they're loyal to the business that they're in or because they are scared of the unknown or any number of scenarios. And yet you still have a lot of really important work that needs to get done. So I think, when you look at, as you mentioned, Gaper and other companies that allow you to access the talent you need, either on a permanent or project base, people that have the experience and have the skill sets to come in and can sort of be accretive quickly. I think it's really important. And actually, as you go forward in this environment and even into the future of work, we talk about gig economy and this. I think you're going to see a model where people want more flexibility in their operating structure, where they and it's very normal. I mean, the ebbs and flows of different operating needs are very real. And I think you're also going to find people that actually quite enjoy being, freelance versus a full-time employee. So I think they're really important. I mean, look, there's a lot of things that smaller companies need. And I would say we're certainly still very much in like hyper growth mode and more, we have more ambition than we have resources. And I think that's true of a lot of companies, but certainly for us. And so, true partners that can deeply understand your business and help you creatively find ways to scale when you need to scale and to address more problems as you need, I think are really important. And like I said, I mean, I think the way in which we work is going to start to evolve and the way that people think about their operating models. I mean, you're not going to see a situation again. Right now, CEOs left and right, whether you're small or you're large, are not being given a complete pass, but they're being said, okay, listen, we get your growth rate isn't going to be everything you want this year, right? CEOs of small companies, people that have invested in the company or what have you, they're saying it's not about growth this year, right? But it is about how you operate. Efficient. Could you accomplish your goals in the most efficient way possible, right? Strategic goals, longer term things. For big companies, it's a lot of the same, right? People are you don't have bad marks because you didn't have a continuity plan in place for this.
Right.
But you better believe that if something like this ever happens again and you don't have an ironclad plan for how you're going to navigate and flex into these types of environments, it's going to be tough. Right. And so you're inevitably going to see even large companies think about scalability and being able to have the ability to flex up and down in terms of the workforce they need, the ways in which they get stuff done. I think that's inevitable.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think even the thing you've mentioned a few times is trust. I think that's really the important thing with a partner like Gaper. You trust that they have your best interests at heart. They're just not throwing bodies at your solution. They're throwing the people that you need.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I've worked with, different partners in BPO capacities, in consulting capacities over the years. And the ones that I go back to over and over again are always the ones that I know have alignment with our best. They're thinking long-term about our relationship and how to build a partnership for the long haul and not just how to optimize the near term.
Yeah, no, I would much rather give you, I'd much rather say, no, I don't have that particular skill set than deal with the ramifications later on.
Yeah, trust me, that won't go well for either of us.
For anybody. I mean, it just be upfront, because there's, there'll be other opportunities. Well, so Scott, I want to thank you for your time today. This has been very enlightening. Love your company. I love the fact that you're giving back to the front lines, and I want to wish you a great day.
All right, thanks very much. Really appreciate the time.
All right, bye.
Okay, bye.